Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Brahmanandam Paramasukhdam Kevalam Gyan Murtim Dvandvatītam Gagan Sadrisham Tattvamasyaadi Lakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatītam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adorations to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme precept. Yoga Vasistha in Sthiti Prakaraṇa, section 23. The sovereignty of a sage. Every soul is born, not born, that exists to attain, to regain the sovereignty of the absolute self. Every soul is reflected sun. And the goal of the reflected sun is the sun. All subtle points that are needed to help an aspirant to be drawn to the ideal of an enlightenment. They are being presented by Sage Vasistha. O Rama, when a potter has finished revolving his wheel, it continues to revolve because it still has momentum to exhaust. Always a simple illustration is given. Potter goes on turning clay into pots. The old style mechanism was a churning wheel, a revolving wheel. And the revolving wheel is given push. So its momentum is maintained and it goes on revolving. So every now and then push is needed. As long as you are not enlightened, the push goes on. And so the wheel of the karma continues. When you become enlightened, push stops. But since the wheel had already gained the momentum, it must wane its momentum. Momentum will move away. In other words, it will continue to rotate to an end, not going into another cycle of rotation ever again. An insight into the karma in a spiritual enlightened being. That's what the purpose is, to give you these ideas. If one is not enlightened, you are continuously creating karmas. Let me give you just a brief. Karma comes in three categories: sañcita karma, prārabdha karma, āgāmi karma. Sañcit, which has been all accumulated storehouse. How much? You can ask Google. I'm simply joking. The idea is to understand, just like Google contains lots of information. If you want to ask how much, you can't imagine. Even ordinary technology I'm talking about. Think of this divine technology. In other words, all those accumulated storehouse is not taking any space. It's all subtle, called sañcita karma. It doesn't require any space. And yet it is vast. Out of sañcita karma, only a little pinch of that sañcit is responsible for your present embodiment. And that portion is called prārabdha karma. Prārabdha karma determines your jati, bhoga and ayu. Jati means what class you are going to be born in, what family you will match up with your chromosomes and your hereditary factors. All that is determined by your prārabdha. So your soul does not get into a family just by accident. In divine world, there is no accident. Otherwise, God will be defective in being omnipotent. Now, while you are living your life backed up by prārabdha, prārabdha gives you a general plot of your life. Just like a writer, before he writes a big novel, or whatever may be his project, he puts down in a very short way a whole scheme of what he is going to do, his whole plan. And then he goes on building up his story. And when he starts building up, he doesn't know. He begins to create stories that he himself didn't imagine before. So, if you read a plot behind the whole writing, the plot will not give you all the idea. Prārabdha brings you the plot of your life story. And as you begin to evolve, begin to live, that plot becomes spiced up by your free will, because you are not always being governed by karmas. Along with karma, there is always a little room for how you want to work upon the karmas. You want to make them better, you want to make them less, you want to build new karmas. All that is there with every individual. If it is not there, then there's no need for scriptures. It's just a matter of karma. Everybody is led by karma. But that is not so. No matter whatever may be your karma, satsanga enables you to attain enlightenment. So, first we talk about sañcita. Out of sañcita, a portion becomes prārabdha. While prārabdha is operating in your life, you are creating āgāmi karma. Karmas that now you are doing. A portion will go into your current prārabdha. A portion of that karma means it will bring a result in this very life. Another portion will go into your sañcita karma. Some later life, because of the whole system behind it. Like so many people coming in a queue. So many karmas wait in queue. Those karmas that you have created, which will determine your future, they are called āgāmi karma. They are also called kriyaman karma, current karma. Out of these three karmas, when a person attains enlightenment, he becomes free of all karmas. But there is little subtle detail. Prārabdha karma continues to operate without creating new karmas, just like a wheel that has been set in motion and it must fade into silence gradually as long as nobody is giving the push to the motion. There is no more push to the motion of your karma. The enlightenment has done that. From a practical point of view, this is the most inspiring aspect of enlightenment. If people became enlightened and suddenly vanished, there will be no one to receive guidance or inspiration. prārabdha karma of a sage becomes exemplary, gives examples to people who are striving for a spiritual evolution. All the types of karmas can be very gracious, can be terrible karmas, painful situations. All types of karmas operate in the life of saints. And shouldn't wonder. If you study any saint's story, what is inspiring you, that his challenging situation, how did he face? If you find a story where there was no challenge, such a saint never exists. So, let me go on giving you more insight. When all the karmas of a sage have been destroyed by spiritual realization, he continues to exist in the body until that karma is exhausted. Prārabdha karma is exhausted. Yet while doing so, he is always aware of his intrinsic freedom. He is like an emperor of emperors, free of all forms of bondage created by karmas. It is the ideal that one needs to attain, ideal life. You are living, but not as a prisoner. In the state of ignorance, you live in your body, and your body is like a bandi grih, prison house. You are never sure what will happen to your body. Never sure when you would fall asleep. You're never sure what type of dreams will come. Never sure whether you will exactly wake up. I shouldn't give you more detail. That's simple to understand. So, living a life for the vast majority of people, imagine, there's constant expectation. 3 eṣaṇās haunt the soul. Eṣaṇās, desires. Treshana. You want to exist in the world forever. No harm in that if you attain enlightenment. you are already forever. But talking from the lesser standpoint, to exist forever, for a mind that is extremely limited, or mind that is, I can call it normal, with the practical reality, you will not exist as your personality, but you can let your representatives live. Your sons and daughters are your representatives. And their sons and daughters will be representatives. So putreshana is that, to have that type of children who will carry your respectable status. That's what putreshana. And that you see even in birds and beasts. They go through terrible turmoils in giving birth to children. And they work so hard feeding them. And then they have to work so hard to kick them out so that they can fly. And finally, where do they go? We don't know. But the mind has to handle so many things led by putreshana. Then there is vitteshana, the mind's illusion that if I were very rich, I will be the best. And I don't have to give much more lecture. Look at people who are billionaires and who have their business here and there, everywhere in the world. And what type of life they are living. Mind that is constantly busy, under strain, for every little change that happens in the business. Busy with business. but completely ignoring what you are gaining out of your own inner nourishment. That's called vitteshana. And third type of eṣaṇā is called lokeshana. You want to be recognized. Everyone has it, even in the family. Just you want to be recognized. You did something wonderful, and want everybody to clap their hands. And so it goes into many levels to seek fame and glory. But all these do not really fulfill the urge of your soul. These are distractions. These are soul being led by Maya. That, again, let me also make it clear. You can be on the right path of evolution, following all that. You can have wonderful children and grandchildren, and you can follow that as grihasthashram. You can have business success. You can have a lot of popularity. All that can be in line with dharma. If it is dharma as the foundation, then there is no problem. All this is allowing your soul to come closer and closer to God. But if dharma is not the foundation, these three eṣaṇās will lead you astray. You can continue to wander and there is no end to it. These eṣaṇās end with Krishna. If you turn your mind to Krishna, to God, all these vasanas, all these eṣaṇās are absolutely fulfilled. Living in the body with a mind filled with these eṣaṇās, it seems like a very normal thing. It is normal. But when you come to develop a spiritual sensitivity, you realize how dull it is. And if you study the predicament of your personality, in every direction, you are dependent upon something other than what you think of yourself. You're dependent upon your body. Your body is dependent upon so many things. You are dependent upon nature. Right type of weather must be there. You're dependent upon people around you, friends. Day by day, you come into contact with different types of people that entertain you, and life goes on cozy with people. But suddenly, something happens, and you find yourself miserable. You have no choice. Meeting, parting, all these are not according to your choice. This is not according to my choice. So, another point, I'm just kind of going on developing this, write volumes about it. Early in the morning, you decide, today I'm going to be very peaceful. But suddenly someone gives you an idea of very exciting experience waiting somewhere. So you are not free to follow what you want to do. Someone invites you. Either you fall to that invitation in a humiliated way, degraded way, led by your illusion, or fall in that because someone who has invited you, if you don't follow the invitation, you will have animosity. So what I'm trying to explain, that you are a bandi, a prisoner. When do you live your life completely free? And that will continue as long as there is the state of bondage. As long as the mind is gripped by ignorance, you are not living in this body as the master, as the ruler, as a joyous residence, but we're living here as a prisoner. While you are living, somebody is looking into, controlling you. You're controlled by so many things, your karmas. But it is not so for one who is enlightened. The very same body that is a prison house for the ignorant becomes a royal city for a sage. Let me explain to you the word city term. The term is used puri. Puri means city. Your subtle body, called puriyashtak, a city consisting of 8 factors. What are those 8 points? Jnanendriyas, senses of perception. Second one, karmendriyas, organs of action. Third one, antahakarana, mind, intellect, ego, chitta, all together. 4-aspected mind, called antahakarana. Fourth, prana, vital forces. Fifth, subtle elements, called panchabhutas, root elements, ether, air, fire, water, earth. Next factor, karma. Next, kama, vasana, subtle desires. And lastly, ignorance, avidya. If you count them all, there are 8 points. When a person dies, he leaves the physical body, but all these 8 go along with the soul. And even while living in the physical body, these 8, they are the closely related to your soul. So your soul is always enjoying the city where there are senses, organs of action, and also all those that I have described. To a sage, this entire setup is not a prison house, but a house of glory. Let me give you a simple way to understand. Look at the sun and look at so many illuminations. A reflected sun lives in the world of illuminations of the sun. To the reflected sun, it is a state of prison house. But the reality of the reflected sun is the sun. And how does that big sun look at this whole prison house? It's not a prison house, it's its own glory. Sun is not imprisoned by its own illuminations, rather glorified by the illumination. The same soul is glorified by its own expressions. All this is Brahman ultimately. In the case of a sage, let's describe the poetic way they describe. The eyes are the windows and the senses are the lamps illumining the city. That type of feeling, inner experience of a sage. The eyes are windows that are giving you the glory of the very same self. The arms are like royal roads. Arms continue to create channels, and all types of activities are like roads, paths. The hairs, its gardens. The legs and thighs, the pillars of this city. It's just a poetic way of describing that whatever you feel you are, to a sage it is entirely a divine setup. Another way of saying, Deho Devalayo Prokto, your enlightened mind, your own body as well as the whole universe is nothing but the same self. So therefore, those who are intent upon attaining enlightenment, they switch their attention in such a way that Their attitude to the body is no longer ordinary attitude, but rather very attention you give to the body is just like attention given to a temple with the purpose of adoring the divine self. And the best adoration is when you begin to give up your illusion of identity with the body, that I am the body. That I am the body, when it is removed, you have succeeded in worshipping God in your body. With that type of setup, think of a realized sage like a great emperor and his personality like a big city with majestic features. Prāṇās are the citizens that continue to move in and out of this nine-gated city of the body. Senses are like the monkeys, tied by the rope of intellect. This is regarding the sage, mind and senses. The soul of a sage, with the rope of intellect, controls the mind and senses. And mind and senses, they become like monkeys under your control. This is old-time simile, very entertaining simile. Smiles are the blossoms that adorn the gardens of the face, describing the saintly personality, his gestures, his sentiments. They also exude something totally divine. The body of a sage is the very abode of all that is auspicious and festive. It is meant for promoting happiness and harmony in all. Sarve bhavantu sukhina. That type of goodwill emanates from the personality of a sage. And that's potential in every individual. And you don't have to become fully blossomed sage, but to whatever extent you allow yourself to become a source of satsanga for others, satsanga for yourself and for others. The moment you begin to do so, you will find that your eyes have a different type of ointment. And your smile has a different type of a charm. You are touching the heart of people with very profound love. And that is a tremendous balm, and it is an inspirer of souls. Therefore, all the stories of Buddha, how did he smile, how did he raise his hand, with all sages and saints. While the bodies of the ignorant are as stores of misery, the bodies of enlightened sages are boundless treasures of bliss. O Rama, it is insignificant to a sage whether his body is destroyed or not. This is another big point. Everyone tries to ignore the fact of death. For vast majority of people, they always see others dying, they join, but the mind never captures that you are also going to die. Why? Because intentionally mind wants to ignore that fact. And when you become sensitive, now comes another stage. Each time something happens to your body, fear of death suddenly enters the mind. What will happen to your possessions? What will happen to your relatives? And I don't have to elaborate it. And that type of fear doesn't come at actually at the time of death. More fear of death comes prior to death. Death that we imagine is worse than the death when it visits you. So that type of prison house we live in. In the case of a sage has ichha mrityu. It's again a very tricky word. Ichha mrityu. To help aspirants, if you attain enlightenment, you will die according to your will. That seems easy to understand and is very comforting. But what does it mean? It simply means that whenever death comes, it is your will. Whatever happens, it happens by the will of God. And the will of God becomes your will. So everything that happens is ichha, your own ichha. Ichha mrityu. That's why in Mahabharata, Bhishma had ichha mrityu. And people interpret it like you go on warding off death. So many things have to be done. No, go death, out. When I want, I will die. That's a poor interpretation of that state. What it simply means, that death is no longer your problem. You are living in a world of mortality. Everything that you touch is perishable. But while living in the world of mortality, you are immortal self. As such, you are not going to go away anywhere. There's no death for you. Change of clothes. Sometimes children, the clothes, you change them, they become very miserable. Souls go on changing bodies. Change is not death. Change is not destruction. I'm talking about deeper understanding. Body dies, not the soul. The moment you begin to develop that deep awareness, I am the soul, and not just ordinary soul, I am the absolute. You continue to live with immense spontaneity. Three things are important to remember. Sahaj, Saras, Sanidhya. Whatever happens in your life, challenging situations are bound to happen. If we have been very young, you are going to age. And I will not go into details of that. But if you are not on the spiritual path, have not received anything from satsanga or higher spiritual culture, when any change comes drastic, everyone gets shaken to such an extent, the torment is very intense. If you are on the spiritual path, the same situations will come. You are not shaken. To such an extent, you smile behind all that. Prasannatam yana gata abhishekata. Rama exemplifies that. He is given the whole, is the heir apparent to a big throne, and he faces it with a serene face. Then he is banished to the forest, and he smiles. That was his own will. He had to go to the forest. If you have that type of enlightenment, continue to abide in your body as an emperor of emperors. Emperors are nothing. And body becomes his divine chariot. Abiding in the city of the body, a sage is well established in the self. He is no longer subject to birth or death. He is no longer driven by desires or tortured by grief. Bhaya śoka rahit. Bhaya is fear. How everyone is subject to fear. And how much of your energy goes after it. Day by day. Not a single day can pass without conscious fear, subconscious fear that grips the mind. But you must realize when you do japa, meditation, any devotional activity, how much of that you are cutting out. Those clouds of darkness are removed, caused by fear. So this goes on in your life. Greater faith in God, greater adherence to your sadhana day by day, lesser and lesser of that fear. On the other hand, emergence of a special type of utsaha, a vigorous inner positivity. Look at the drama. How wonderful it looks. The sky looks at the clouds and remains calm. How quickly can we become like the sky? That's a different matter. The horse of the mind no longer moves along the roads that lead to hell by the roads of passion, greed, or anger. There are three gates to calm, krodha, love. There are three roads to hell. Kama, desires that are not normal. Krodha, anger. Lobha, greed. Three gates to hell. But there are only three. Gates to heaven, there are four. Shama, serenity. Santosh, contentment. Satsang, good association. Vichar, inquiry into who am I. All these are allegorical. In the case of a sage, his body chariot, his personality chariot will not follow the path leading to hell. His personality chariot will not follow Yatana Marg and the other path known as Dakshinayana. There are two types of hell. Hell as is literal hell. Another, coming into the cycle of birth and death, viewed by a mind that is advanced, is a kind of a big hell. I'm just turning your attention to the two paths described in the Gita. One is called Uttarayana, another is called Dakshinayana. The path that sage's personality follows and highlights. First stage, Agni, fire. Fire means vairagya, dispassion. Jyoti, vivek. Vivek means discriminative intellect. A subtle understanding of difference between self and not self. All this goes on developing in degrees. Third point, aha. Aha means daily life that you live. How profoundly are you living your daily life? To many people, daily life has no value. Yesterday was of importance, and this day is busy putting ducks together for the next day. The daily life is not enjoyed by people. You go on missing the real nourishment to your life. One foot is yesterday, one foot is tomorrow. So, when you follow this northern path, Agni Jyoti Aha, you do not commit that mistake. Daily life becomes joyous. It's so joyous, it doesn't matter how long it will be, liberation, what it was in the past. A subtle attunement with God, then you realize that all things are like fun once you are attuned to God. Then comes śoka. Your heart becomes like the sky, firmament, blue firmament. And your feeling, a delightful feeling emerges in your heart like the moon, waxing moon that comes to full moon. It's bhavana vikas. Your feeling blossoms. And then, if that has happened, your consciousness that is always confined to a circle, now the circle goes on expanding until you become infinite, blend with God Himself. That's how it's, in a highly mystical way, it is described, called Uttarayana Marg. To one who has attained enlightenment, that is his whole path, joyous movement. He no longer chooses the other path called Dakshinayana, Dhumo Ratri. It begins with dhumra, smoke. You live that life and you are facing all your understanding in your mind comes in a big fog or mist or smoke. You go on losing the qualitative thinking more and more. And that will lead you a kind of a darkness, night. And then you are led to dark night. Dark night, again, allegorical. A type of helplessness where you don't know where to go, you don't see any way out. And then your consciousness goes through contraction. Instead of expanding, it goes on Dakshinayana. According to the symbolic Dakshinayana, it refers to in the southern path of the Earth planet. Southern path means your daytime goes on shortening. In northern path, daytime goes on increasing. That also is symbolic. Daytime means your consciousness. Consciousness now goes on decreasing to such an extent that death becomes a kind of a great torture. Soul emerging from death goes into another cycle of birth and death. But in the Gita, let me make a little change. What it says that after you go through all this, you end up with moon. Led by your karmas, you enjoy bhoga in the land of the moon. Moon refers to reflected happiness. Good karmas will allow you to have wonderful time after death. But that wonderful time is not really wonderful from a spiritual point of view. It's called bhoga, it's a lot of illusion. And the third path is simply going to direct hell. The summary of all that, a sage follows that path that is allow you to live your daily life as if you are living with something new, delightful, pranava movement, ever new. You never face this, oh, it's the same old day. Same old clouds, same old house, same old kitchen. The foreign rulers in the form of ignorance and illusions cannot penetrate this well-protected city of the sage. while the ignorant are constantly driven by the waves of externalized mind, and they are thrown into the stream of the world process. That doesn't happen to a sage. The sage is an emperor who rejoices in the palace of the body, Matri and cosmic love. These are his queens. And he has two beautiful daughters, Satyata and Ekata. Satyata is truth. Ekata, all harmony, absolute unity. So it's a cozy, comfortable palace. With this we'll conclude. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.